Shampoo, lost in them. If you have no heart, you hear no sound. If you come up short, it will come around. If you're too far up, just come down. Get what you give and take what you need. No need to take sides, just feel in between.
Welcome, one and all, to Liberty After Dark live stream. We hope that you enjoy the show and will engage in the conversation along with us. So, without further ado, here's your host, Christian Moore.
Whoa, what's up? Oh, I just realized I should probably move this out of the way for a second. How is everybody doing today? I hope you are having as wonderful of a Saturday as I am. I hope you aren't in quarantine. And I hope that life isn't stressing you out. Yeah, cool. Looks like, so we're a little late, a few minutes late, but by far not our worst offense. We were just waiting to hear back from the lovely Sherry Voluntary, make sure everything's just slight technical difficulties to begin with, but nothing that we are not completely used to over here at Liberty After Dark. Ugh. For those of you who don't know, we're going to be doing like a little mini Q&A session. So, if you guys are interested in participating in that, then you guys are here part of the live stream. So if anything comes up and we didn't get to it, we will kind of probably do like a little wrap-up thing. It'll be about an hour. I'm just waiting to hear from Sherry before we get going. And yeah, everything looks like it's good other than that. Yeah. So, where's everybody at? Is anybody stuck in quarantine right now before we get started? What is your favorite order at Waffle House? I'll make sure that's in there. Just for you, Celeste. Long time faithful fans get a preference as far as questions. Fans and friends. And both at the same time. Sorry. I am looking through here. I wanted to see if I can find this. This is what I wanted to see, if it would work. Let me see something real quick. Oh! Hello? Can you see me? Oh, hold on. Maybe that'll do it. Can you hear me? Oh, wait.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh, that's because I have push to talk enabled.
Aha!
There we go. Sorry, gamer life, I guess. Let me get you on screen here.
I'm such a boomer.
Yeah, I was like, why isn't this working? I was like, I use this application literally all the time, but
I wonder how to switch. I mean, it's using my webcam and not my good camera.
so there should be a little, like, on the bottom left of the app, there should be like a little corkscrew thingy next to the headphones. It's a little gear.
Oh, the little gear?
Yeah, click that, user settings. And
Oh,
then
look at you.
yeah, it should be in the app settings section, voice and video.
Voice and video.
Yep, and then change your video settings camera.
Look at you.
Celeste is
I'm
here.
such a-
She said she's happy to see you.
Who?
Celeste.
Celeste. Celeste has become one of my favorite people.
There we go.
Okay, how do I get out of it now?
Oh,
Oh, wait, here's the little X. Wait,
Yeah.
I found it.
Cool.
Let's see if it's doing it. It is! Yay! Oh, you're so smart. Hold on. All right.
there we
Okay,
go.
let's
Yeah,
see.
wow.
Is that right?
You got a nicer
that the
camera
right
than I do,
size?
that's for sure. Yeah, you're good. I can
I
adjust.
told you I got the setup. If I knew how to use it, it'd be great.
Isn't Alan giving you like tips on how to run your studio?
Well, yeah. I mean, Alan set me up on because I record postcards now, and so yeah, on OBS. But this is a new deal. I just recently figured out how to get on Twitch and how to go to like the Disenthrall channel, and I know how to do nothing else.
Can I ask you to change one more thing? Actually, okay, you put your headphones in? Yeah, okay, you just did. All right. I just wanted to make sure. We were getting a little feedback earlier, but I think you just put your headphones in, so that's probably what did it. We're good, though. We're
No,
good.
I had them in, but I don't.
Oh, no, it's fine now. It's not here. I just
Okay,
wanted to make
good.
sure that for the podcast recording, you didn't, like, constantly hear an echo of me.
Sure.
So,
Cool. Thank you.
Celeste says it's very, or way to flaunt your toilet paper. You got your stash in the back over there.
And that's not all. Let me tell you, this girl, I'm in the middle class of toilet paper.
Yeah, we got at least 7 rolls over there. So I mean,
I'm TP bourgeois. Yeah, and I've got 16 rolls right here, baby. Just right here in the overflow. I made a wall of toilet paper one night for Alan and I for postcards. So that's why it's in here, and I haven't taken it put it away.
There we go. That's good.
So your show is what, an hour?
Yeah. So I mean, well, there's not like a hard time, but usually it winds up working out to be somewhere around that. If you need to leave at some point, just say like, "Hey, nerd, I gotta go." So,
No, it's fine. I think my producer and I are gonna do another live stream tonight.
okay.
Probably not for 5 hours this time, but I don't know.
I mean,
You never know with Sherry Voluntary.
hey, you never know, right?
We just are, hanging out with friends and stuff, so it's not a big deal.
All right. Well, it looks like everything's working on my end. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna clap my hands together. I'm gonna do the intro. I'm gonna introduce you, and I'm gonna turn this music off. Not that you could hear it to begin with, but we can't have that during the podcast recording. So I gotta boop. Sorry guys, your chill beats are gone if you're in the live stream.
No chill beats.
No chill beats. This is a super serial now, I guess.
I love vaporwave, just so you know.
Oh yeah, I mean that I definitely enjoy it. Synthwave, vaporwave, all that.
Yes,
the
all that.
waves. I love that stuff. I put my phone somewhere, which is where I saved the questions. But I did
Yeah,
send
you
them
probably
to
need that.
you.
You did send them to me. I can ask myself the questions.
Well, yeah, I think it was for kind of both of us, is the way they were all kind of framed. I don't know if I
Right.
Yeah, I mean whatever. It'll make for good discussions. But
Right.
and like I told the people in the chat before you got here, Oh, I can just open it up on my side. It's all good. Before I told the people in the chat, this is a live stream, so if you have anything that comes to your mind,
Ask away.
ask
I'll
away.
answer anything. I mean, I'm not shy. And I'll just tell you to fuck off if I don't like it. So.
There we go.
Can I use the F word? Can I?
Yeah. No.
Okay, your show is not a show of God.
No, it is not. That is without a doubt, it is not a show of God.
So, cussing on my show of God. I also have liquor, but that might be for later. If I'm gonna have to answer serious.
So
Shiner Bach.
Always, every time. like a true Texan.
I was gonna say you're such a Texian. My friend Sean Jones. I don't know if you know him from Texas. He lives in Houston.
No, I don't think we've ever talked before.
Huh?
I said I don't think we've ever talked.
Okay, well he told me it's Texian.
Texian, I like it.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, Tennesseans is what allowed you to be Texians. So shut your face hole.
It's we'll just kind of brush over that one.
Yeah, it's true.
Whoops! I just minimized like everything somehow. Okay.
I thought I was the boomer. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. I was pressing buttons and trying to get things all nice and pretty, and then it all exploded.
Is this on Facebook too?
It's like everywhere. It's on Mixer, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch.
So you are live streaming it right now. I was gonna find it and
Facebook would probably be the fastest
share it.
to find.
Where do I? Which do you have a page? Liberty
After Dark. Yeah.
I did not realize that Liberty AD was you this whole time. When I'm seeing that,
yeah,
I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd and a turd.
Lad, that's a
not like the Lad Bible thing.
No, not quite the same, but
oh.
You mind just talking for me one more time? I'm just making sure all my levels are good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
All right, that looks good. Thank you very much. Just wanted to make sure. Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna do my clap thing and we'll get this ball rolling so we can start this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Liberty After Dark. My name is Christian, and today, by popular demand, we have the return once again of the lovely Sherry Voluntary. How's it going?
I'm lovely, thank you.
So Sherry, you've got Postcards of Somalia going on. You've been doing some live streams lately with your producer, doing some fun stuff there. Awesome to have you back again. We had you a few months ago now, actually. I guess it was October, September.
I think it's been it's been a long time.
It was
I've had many sleeps since then, so
yeah. So
I don't think it's like. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's coming through my computer and not my headphones.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Yeah. You can change that too. You just press the little gear, voice and video.
Do it now live on air.
Yeah, why not? Whatever. It's not like this is the JRE.
Okay,
good.
Voice and video, speakers and headphones. Okay, this would be better because the quality will be better for your show. It goes through my mic.
Is it working now through the headphones?
No.
It's voice and video, and then output devices on the top right, and then one of those should be your headphones if they're plugged in.
Oh, here we go.
Is that it now?
There we go. That's it.
Okay,
all right.
Cool.
Now my voice isn't coming through there. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Your mic is working perfectly. So
turned up really loud.
you sound crispy. Very good.
Crispy.
Yeah. It's crispy vocals.
Okay.
It's all right.
It's the SM7, y'all.
Yes, I know. I saw that.
Good mic.
It is. It's very, very well-known microphone for vocals.
I just need 2 turntables now. Y'all don't want to hear that, I'm sure.
DJ Voluntary? Is that what's going on here?
That would be awesome. I have to get a hat and turn it around, but I would be like the cheesiest DJ ever.
Oh man, that would be something to see right there. So obviously, okay, so besides your upcoming venture into the world of DJing, what else you got going on right now?
Well, I'm still doing postcards from Somalia, as many of you know, and maybe love, maybe not, with Alan Mosley. And I am also, we are kind of taking our shows. I'm developing a new one, and as you know, Alan's rebranded his already and moved on. So we're going more towards the entertainment realm, and still being us. I mean, we're still going to be libertarian anarchists, but we're not going to broadcast that to the world, and we're going to just try and be more in the entertainment area, because this is a numbers game, and if you want to make enough money to keep doing it, then you've got to get numbers. And so we're just going to work on doing that and moving that way, and I'm working on getting some voice work, and I have some things I want to write. Like, there's a lot I want to do, but hours in the day, and I'm not very focused.
Exactly. I mean, I've done 3 shows this week, and I think, I Never Again is the first thing that came to mind.
I've done 3 shows in a day.
Yeah, it's so much, like, every single day I had some technical difficulty. This was the smoothest day by far, with just those little hiccups. Like, I felt so bad on Monday. I had, oh my God, Michael Chaney was on, and I had just like the worst technical difficulties. He couldn't see me. It was terrible.
You know why? Because he didn't have a license.
Yeah, that was it. They were blocking our communications. The one-way encrypted signals,
Right.
Oh, geez. But enough about me. So I wanted to have you back today, but I wanted to do something a little bit different, because we've had you on, I think, twice before to just talk. But
I think so, yeah.
This time I wanted to have you on and have some people ask some questions that we could kind of either, I guess, based off of the way these questions happen to be, we'll kind of bounce them between each other. But really, I wanted to get, a look into the mind of Sherry Voluntary, because some of this stuff I've already talked about with the folks here on the show. But some of these questions, one of these questions in particular is a pretty intense question. So,
okay,
what's
I'm
up?
ready. I just want you to know it's scary in there in my mind.
Yeah.
So just ask Daniel, my producer. God love him. He's one of my closest friends, so he gets inside this mind quite often, and it's a little scary.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
it's not what you think it is. It's not like I might look like a soccer mom, but
okay, just gonna stop there. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right.
Better left unsaid.
I like it. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right in to this really easy one as I turn. Okay, cool. That's fine right there. So a fellow named, I'm just gonna call him Jamie. He messaged me on Facebook, and he wanted to see what your opinion was on if we are trending closer or further away from liberty. You said it seems everyone has their own take, so I figured I'd see what yours is.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a difficult one, because it's hard to see. It's hard to know. But the optimist in me wants to say yes. And I see a lot of evidence of that in things like the homeschool community, people wanting more diversity of education, and that breaks up the monopoly of the state's education system. You see a lot of, like with the Virginia deal that happened, people kind of grasping their desire to have at least some freedom. And I think yes, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be bright and shiny. Let's put it that way. Like, anytime you kill a beast, like we're at final boss battle, right? you're fighting Bowser in the final level, and it's difficult, and it can be hard, and kind of like the always darkest before the dawn. I think so, yes, but that doesn't mean that that doesn't have negative consequences as well. It just means that we get a better opportunity to rebuild something new. And I think that's where, with this whole thing with the pandemic and all the craziness around it, that's what I've really kind of come to, is that it's really our job as people who care about these things. And if you want to talk about it and change, as Alan likes the hearts and minds. He hates the hearts and minds thing. If you want to do that, then now is a really great time to, because people are seeing some holes in the system. You might approach it a little bit, not maybe so hardcore, just because people are scared, but it might be a good time to start introducing those conversations. And it's definitely a perfect time for us to start building what we want to see. I think, that if you want to be the change you want to see in the world, then you have to start somewhere. And now is a good time to do it. There's going to be a lot of economic fallout, y'all, a whole lot. And we can, if we are able, step in and maybe help out in ways and build community. That's another big one. Build your community where you are of people. Sometimes I feel like it's almost like when I used to be religious and proselytizing. But it's true. Like, the reason I'm wanting to proselytize people to voluntarism is because it's the best thing for every individual. It's not to worship something else or to do it. It gives you more power in your life, not less. So I guess that's a kind of a piecemeal answer, but it's difficult to see. But I think so. I think we are. I think everything has cycles. The Roman Empire fell. They called that the Dark Ages. It wasn't really the darkest time in history. Like, there was a lot of great things that still came out of that time period, and people building their communities and living. So maybe that's what has to happen. But
So I wanted to kind of focus on, I've kind of flip flopped on this specifically. Over really, I mean, the last year I've flip flopped quite a bit, but I I found myself in the position now. I think it was after I listened to Lark and Rose on Anarchast when with the soft reboot, I guess, now that Patrick Smith
yeah,
is running
Patrick.
it.
Yeah,
Congratulations to him again, by the way. But
yeah, Patrick's awesome.
and I really think that when he was talking and he was like, look, when I started doing this, like, there were no voluntarists, there were no ANCAPs, there was like
Yes.
5 of us in a park, and that was the whole country's worth. And I was like, okay, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense to me. But at the same time, stuff like this COVID-19 goes down, and I see how many people are even more endeared to the state than in the past. So I think it goes both ways, right? I think there's kind of a nuance to answer the question.
Ebbs and flows.
What's that?
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Ebbs and
But I really wanted to ask you, you were kind of talking about the whole proselytizing thing there for a second. Do you think that the kind of the squeaky wheel gets the grease approach has been what has brought so many people over to volunteerism? Or do you think there's something maybe more to it that I'm not seeing?
You mean like the yelling on Facebook? Is that what you
Not so much
squeaky wheel?
not so much yelling on Facebook, like, specifically, but I mean, that's saying, like, if
Yeah.
you keep squeaking, eventually you will get the grease. Like, if nobody talked about
Right.
voluntarism, no one would hear about voluntarism and no one would come. But at the same time, you do hear people who are like, you've got to not let this be your defining personality trait, which that's not my perspective, because that basically is my defining personality trait. So,
No. I see what you're saying. Yes. I think it's, again, to use one of my former religious slogans that they used, was each one win one. Like, that was what we were always after, was just to win people over. And we do that through, in this area, through logical argumentation. Kindness always helps too, sometimes. But I try not to be too critical of anyone's approach, because as a voluntarist, that we're all different, and we're all going to have different approaches, and your approach will be different from day to day and person to person. And, online sometimes is a lot different than you may approach someone in real life. So, I think that you do what works and you do what's effective. And if calling people, monkey, cocksucker, whatever, like, whatever you're calling them, if that's not working for you, you probably should quit doing that and try another approach. It's that's the thing, is that I think at least for me, I'm constantly sort of reevaluating what I'm doing and what's working. That's why I don't have the Sherry Voluntary show right now. I was putting a lot of energy and effort into it, and I need to make the money to keep it going and to do, like, I'm doing appearances. I'm going to Vegas in July to speak at Freedom Fest and things like that. I need to pay for these things. Like, it would be nice if the show would pay for that. So um, that's I had to say, this really isn't as effective as I'd like to be, because it has to be effective for me first, personally, in order to be able to do it. Um, and then is it effective in drawing people in? And I got great response. It was a pretty popular show. It's just you have to look all the way around. And what would be the best is it for me is if I was, making enough money for the show to be able to sustain itself and people were enjoying it. So I forget what your question initially was.
Well, no, I mean,
oh, voluntarism.
Yeah, you were kind of in the same area. I mean, I think that, I mean, that's kind of like, what am I trying to say here? Not to go too far off on a tangent, but I don't think that like trying to make money off of producing content is wrong. It's not, I kind of didn't really give up on the goal, but I decided that wasn't what, like, I don't want to be a professional YouTuber streamer. That's not why I do this. I do this because I think it's fun and it gives me a hobby and it keeps me from doing crack and, stuff like that. But,
you do math. Come on.
Maybe just a little bit. But,
oh, wait, you're a white kid in the suburbs, heroin.
there we go. That's even better. But yeah, I mean, and that's okay with me, but especially like, by people again, like Patrick, like you, like even really big streamers and podcasters are like, look, like we've been producing free content, some of these people for years, potentially going on decades. And it's like, eventually we've got to make something out of this. And I think it's just kind of a shift. I think the debut of online entertainment being so accessible made it, everybody got that initial, like, this should all be free thing. But I do think there's a sea change. So I don't think you're wrong for feeling that way. I think if you make good stuff that people enjoy, they will pay for it. So.
Right. And I've had people and a lot of good people, and this is the way I felt at first too. Well, I would do this regardless. I mean, I'm always going to be a voluntary. Like, that's who I am. I'm going to have those opinions. But to put hours and hours, like a full-time job or more, because it's kind of, I wasn't very good at limiting my hours with it, into that and taking that time away from my children and from something else I could go get a part-time job and earn the money to do the events and things like that. So, I would have said that in the beginning. I said I would just do this regardless, but I do need it to at least pay for itself. I don't want to become like a millionaire off of it. I don't think that's not going to happen, but
you never know.
I'm not even 1,000 air off of it, but I think for things to be self-sustaining is a good thing, and it makes those days, because I don't care who you are, you can love what you do, and there are days when you go, why the heck am I doing this? And so I think that's important. For me, I had to decide, is this going to be a goal? I came to that decision. I said, well, am I just going to keep doing this because this is what I want to do and I want to talk to people about it? And I had to come down on the side of, I really want to put my efforts into something that is at least going to pay for itself, because I've invested a lot of money. My producer Daniel has invested a lot of money in my show. And I would love to be able to compensate him and myself for some of these things that we've invested in. So while I still am passionate about the message, there are other ways to do it that maybe, I could get by with and not put so much time into, and make some money doing it. So each person has to decide for themselves what the goal is. And I also think that when you're more invested in something, you're going to give a better product. And, if it's a casual approach you have, great, get on there and do what you got to do. But if you're trying to like really grow something, it's hard to put that much time and effort into it without getting a little something in return.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had to have the talk Yeah, I used to do the show 2 times a week at the minimum. I'd do 2 times a week, and I'd produce the podcast, and I'd release it every 4 days roughly, and that was a ton of my time, and I eventually just had to have the talk, and I was like, "Look, if I'm not gonna get, even compensated to do this, like, I'm not gonna break my butt doing this." So we're back to 1
Right.
show a week and all that. But, basically, I'm just saying I completely understand where you're coming from, and, you've gotta get at least what you're putting out of it or putting into it at some point,
Yeah.
Um,
Right. I mean, I'll probably always put more into it than I get out of it, but as far as time wise, because
time,
time
yeah.
is money. That's true. And but if I could afford to pay for my plane ticket here or there, like people ask me to do events, and a lot I have to turn down some of them because it's just too expensive, and it's not, you have to weigh everything. And uh the thing with Freedom Fest, I'm paying for my travel, my hotel, but they're not paying me, they're want me to speak at the conference. So I don't have to pay to do the conference. So that's one thing. But I figured that opportunity to get in front of that many, shall we say, liberty movement people, it's a good idea because they want to talk about anarchism and voluntarism and stuff like that, which I think would be really awesome to have in a place like that. Because I don't want to talk to ANCAPs about or voluntarists about being voluntarists. They already know it. Like we can yell at ourselves about the borders or not, but who really needs those ideas are the people that don't hear them, and that's many other people in the movement.
Yeah, that's a light way of putting it.
I love the liberty movement. Like to me, it's kind of funny now because like it's a degree thing.
Yeah.
Like how many degrees in the liberty into liberty are you?
It's a spectrum. That's what I like to say.
Yeah,
Like
it is a spectrum. We're all on it.
yeah, it closely mimics the autistic spectrum. I'm not saying that they're related exactly, but this might be like a correlation causation thing. But
Saying that a little bit.
probably the more ANCAP you are, the further down the spectrum you might be. So
children. Preach. I'm gonna get all religious in here again. Testify. I mean,
I know I have my moments though sometimes where especially
if you've ever, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you keep going.
I was gonna say, especially if you've ever had a conversation about whether or not you can sell children on the market, you might be an ANCAP. Like we go there. You can. Thank you. You're
Someone
welcome
has to ask the question, Sherry.
That's right.
Oh man. Yeah, and Celeste here says, my dad liked one of my anti-war posts today, baby steps.
That's awesome. It's true. Like, and you're not going to get every person with everything. Like, you might be really, really, really into economics. That's for a lot of people, they don't care. Like, it's not, I didn't care about economics until I became a libertarian. And then I'm like, oh, wow, this is really cool. But what got me into learning about this stuff was eminent domain. That's what I was like, I had never heard of it, and I heard of it, and I'm like, how can they do this? Like, how is this a thing? And then I learned more and more, and I thought, this isn't right. You shouldn't be able to just take someone's property because, the masses want it. I mean, if that's the case, then anybody can do anything to anyone if they get enough people. And that is the foundation of democracy, I later found out. So
yeah.
But it took me a while. I was calling myself a libertarian probably, I don't know, 10 years before I actually was one. I didn't understand. I had no idea there was a philosophy for that long. So, and I wasn't even really involved in the party. I was a libertarian, like when Republicans tell you they're a libertarian. That's the kind of terrible, but yeah, that's what I was. So
it's like one of those, like, everyone has a right to guns, but
but if you're transgender, you shouldn't be able to have one. I had this argument on YouTube already.
Holy I hope. Wow. Okay. Well, that sounds like an interesting person right there. Jeez.
Thank you for not using gendered language, by the way, when you said person.
Well, I didn't.
I'm
You
sure
didn't
he
say the
appreciates
gender
it.
of the person who was saying that transgender people didn't know guns, so I
That's
didn't
true.
want to assume their gender. That would
Thank
be
you.
rude of me. So, uh, Jesus.
You're a
Okay.
modern man, Christian.
Yeah, that's what it is. Man. Okay. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something, and you just totally derailed my train. Here comes the
I
Sherry
have
train.
that effect on people. I know you have an agenda, but I have my own. Hopefully they go in the same direction.
Oh yeah, it seems to be going that way so far. And so we talked about a lot of different things there, actually, some of which are pretty interesting. Speaking of this whole, you know, baby steps thing, and we're gonna kind of transition to this, and I think this is a good way to start segueing into the other question that we got. But I wanted to say that a lot of people, after Trump issued that, I don't remember the exact name, the "We get to seize the means of production" act, have kind of, I wouldn't say a lot, but I think the people who were like just kind of party Republicans, just voting the party, never really big Trump people, I think they're kind of like, excuse me, what just happened? Because like
Right.
they voted for like a no shit actual textbook definition socialist.
Socialism, yeah. Can I mention something to you
Go
on
for it.
along that line?
Yeah.
This is a good explanation or reason why we, as crazy as we seem sometimes to people, why we got to keep out there. And I think of it like, if you know anything about the Bible, the Old Testament, with you just bring out the Bible in me or something,
Apparently
Christian.
I do.
It's your cherubic face. But like in the Old Testament, you had the prophets, crying in the wilderness. There was even one of them that even the children of Israel buried up to his neck in shit. So they didn't want to hear it. But when the bad thing comes, they're looking for something. And you can be that voice. Because a lot of times, this is something they do in a propaganda technique. Like if you notice, I saw on a news show where this woman who is supposedly saying the news, right? She's spouting her drivel. I don't remember what it was about. And then they keep taking a shot to another woman going, yeah. Why? Why on a news show would they do that? Because they're telling you how to think.
It's a psychological suggestion.
Right. Because what she's saying might, and you trigger a little, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. But if you see another reaction, it's a psychological thing that humans do. We mirror each other's emotions and thought, things like that. So when you see on her screen, oh yeah, like maybe this is a new revolutionary idea. This, whatever it is, whatever tyrannical thing they want to do to you. But if they get another person to go, oh yeah, like that, maybe that calms that voice in your own head. So this is the time where we can be their real conscious, like, no, motherfucker, this is crazy. Stop it. Don't let it happen. Like we can kind of wake them up. So that's what I hope to do. And that's what I think a lot of us want to do. Maybe not all of us, but we want to be able to help people come to an understanding of what freedom actually is, and that we don't really have, like, we have a lot of freedom in this country in many ways, but in other ways we don't. And we're just trying to bring them along with us on this idea that we can respect each other and we can have a civil society without daddy government over our shoulders threatening to get the paddle out. I mean, that kind of sounds fun, but in the context of the states, not so much. Like, you don't get to say no, and that's where real freedom lies. Real freedom lies in the right to say no. You can consent to anything by just participation, but in order to really have freedom, you have to be able to say no, and I don't consent to this, and opt out of it. And there's a lot of things that we don't have that ability to do. So there you have it.
Celeste here says that if "Seize the Memes of Production" isn't a meme page yet, it should be. So
I know. I thought about making that page once. I think it might already be one.
If it isn't yet, again, it should be, because that's a good title.
It is a great title. Daniel, my producer, says that unschooling is the greatest opportunity for the future, and now Harvard and company are wanting to set standards for homeschoolers. Yeah, this was an interesting little thing that's come about.
has been a fire set under me today. And
Uh-oh.
it started last night, really, whenever I saw the Trump issued the order forcing GM at gunpoint to start producing these valves without their
Right.
consent or the consent of any of the workers, or literally any. Actually, it's literally just do this or we will arrest you and throw you in a cage or kill
Mhm.
you.
Right.
Great, love it. That set
This
a
isn't the
fire under
first time
me.
they've done that
No,
in
no,
the world. Like,
but
this is an old thing.
this is for freaking COVID-19. Okay, it's not even
Right.
like we're being full
Not the
scale
war
invasion.
effort and
Yeah.
like
Oh God,
all
yeah.
that mess. Like, it's a different mess.
And then I saw a bunch of different things about how, like, in Dallas, they're talking about using National Guardsmen to walk door to door on wellness checks, and we all know how wellness checks go. You get
Oh
shot.
yeah.
Uh, and then I saw the homeschooling conventions being put together, and how they're trying to restrict laws or make laws on working from home or working in non-work zones and stuff like that. And legislation is being proposed so that people will go back to work instead of starting to work from home again.
Oh, right, because it would ruin everybody's life if more people worked from home. Why the hell does it matter? It's like when they closed the schools in Connecticut, I think it was, or Pennsylvania. It was Pennsylvania. They closed the public schools and they closed all the online schools. They would not allow them to start homeschooling. They don't want you to get a taste of that freedom. They don't want you. That's the only reason it could be. Why would they close that down? That should be the thing they should be saying. Like, hey, keep up with your studies, get on the online school. And no, no, no. They want to have the appearance of freedom. Like, they're okay if some of us weirdos take our weirdo kids out of the school. Like, they don't really like it, but they'll allow it because we're weirdos. But when the mainstream starts taking, comes to the idea like, hey, this isn't so bad. I can spend some time with my kids. How about that? That's amazing. We
Yeah.
can go to the park in the middle of the day and enjoy, whatever it is. That they don't want people to taste that freedom, because once they do, they'll start asking why does it have to be the way it is? And they like it the way it is. So,
Well, and a lot of people too have misconceptions about homeless or homeschooling, and it's not always like mom sits down or dad sits down and teaches a lesson. A lot of the
oh
stuff,
no.
a lot of the curriculums now are either self-guided, or they're entire programs where you can still have a teacher, and even some of those even will have like weekly classroom settings and stuff like that if there's a place in your area. And so,
Right.
you know what I like to
Or
say,
unschooling.
yeah, unschooling. Yeah, what I like to say is that homeschooling is options. That's what it is. Where
It's the right to say no. Like, it's there in that area. I can consent to not sending my kids. I can't consent to not paying for other kids to
yeah,
that's where they get you. That's why they don't really care right now. But if more people are not putting money into that system, then that system will start to fail, and they can't have that. They've built so much on the fact that we have public schools in this country because we want an educated populace, and people are dumber than shit and dumber than they've ever been. So there's a lot that falls apart. One domino, like, this is why they fight so hard on some of the small things, because one domino, it's that chink in that. Like, let's take cannabis for instance, something they built up to be, a bad thing, and then now people have really started coming out of that, and even like, my Christian conservative Baptist mother is like, the cannabis isn't so bad. We people should be able to smoke the cannabis. So she's not all the way to, heroin should be legal, but she is at the cannabis part, but those dominoes start falling. When you reach, Grammy Baptist, you're reaching somebody, that's really saying something. So that shows the shift in culture. Look at like the gay marriage thing. I can tell you from experience, this is kind of goes back to your question earlier about, are we trending more towards freedom or less? I don't like the way that it was enacted, right? But it's still the
yeah,
right result came out. So, but if you just look culturally, and even, I've thought about it a little bit more. Maybe I don't necessarily mind the way, because it's the way of the system and they use it to do a lot of bad things. So might as well use it to do that. But anyways, when I was in high school in the 90s, um, that was like, still, most people would tell you they thought homosexuality was the wrong and it was a sin, or um they didn't like gays or, any other words they call them. Like, it was still okay to be just straight up bigoted about it,
homophobic, like
Yeah,
entirely.
homophobic, if you want to call it that. I kind of hate that word, but yes, but just in that period of time, it changed like a lot from 1995 when I graduated high school to even the year 2000. It was so much different. So if but we can learn a lot from that, from the gay rights movement campaign, that they just stayed on it. We've just got to stay on it. It's kind of like success in many areas is not always due to just how good you are. It's due to how long you can last, how long you can hold out. Not always, but that's usually a big factor in people's success, is they just keep going and keep pushing and things like that. So I think we can see that, and we have, like they were saying, when Larkin started, there were no voluntarists. Now you can go online and find thousands, really. It's still not a lot when you look in comparison, but that grows exponentially, right? Especially if it's the each one win one. And y'all, we're all so big mouth and wordy and out there that the people that are out there are really out there talking about it. So, I mean, look at the explosion in libertarian podcasts. So we're not just winning one each. Like, most of us get many people to come in, and that's all good, and it all trends more towards, because we're always, if you're an anarchist, you're always going to be on the margins. Mainstream people don't necessarily want an anarchist society, right? But it would be great if we could get to the point where those people don't want us to die and don't mind if we go off and do our thing over here, right? And like are left alone. That would even be really great. Like, okay, you go have your governments and state over here. We'll go over here and do our thing, and that would be great. But we don't even have that. We have people that would say it's tyrannical if a area of the country wants to secede or something, and so that's what I have to say about that.
No, yeah. It is what? No.
I know. I'm sorry. I start in one area and then
no, it's a tangent. It's a sign of a good conversation.
I'm sorry.
They naturally flow together. But I did wanted to actually move on to the next question we got. And same. I'm glad you kind of brought it back to the whole, are we trending towards freedom? Because almost as sort of a, as a counterpoint, we have this second question here. I got it by email. And it's a KAD and a bunch of numbers. I'm sure it's just somebody's email address, so I'm not going to give the whole thing out. But so his question is, what are we supposed to do if the government enforces a statewide quarantine? Just wait around until we run out of money as they threaten us with troops and police, or what? And I was expecting a lot of questions, but honestly, that was not the kind of question I was expecting to get. And that's kind of a heavy topic. And so I wanted to go ahead and let you give your 2 cents about it.
Yeah, well,
everybody's approach is going to be different. That's the first thing. But
true. I think, and it has a lot to do with the area you're in as well. Like in my area, I was just out. I had to get groceries yesterday, and I went out, and like it was just as busy as it always is. There was not a lot less traffic. Like, and that was just a certain time of day. So maybe I was just hitting the right time of day. But I think it depends on the area you're in, for one, as to how they enact. Because we're on quarantine right now in Knoxville, but people are still doing what they want. Like, I've been staying home, like, mostly just because I'm like, I'll just stay home. If I need to go somewhere, I'll just go there. But I think in some other areas, it's much more troublesome. And I think was it the governor of Connecticut that said they're going to go house to house with the National Guard for anyone who has been in contact or with someone from New York or has been to New York. And like, that's more of a witch hunt.
I think New Jersey. Yeah.
Was it New Jersey? Okay. Whereas in Houston, where you are, right? You're in Houston. I think what they were calling for is just wellness checks, which I'm not happy about. But I heard someone was telling me, I didn't hear the show. Jack Spirko, who has a really good like survivalist podcast, he made a really good point. And I'm going to paraphrase because I did not hear him say this, but I think I can trust the person that was saying it. That we have to remember this is the National Guard. This is not the Army. And the National Guard, I know you're in
it's a branch of the military, though.
That's true, but it is very different. And this is how these are people you work with. These are people that are part-time. These are people that, you know, it's not even like the police coming to your door because the police work with each other.
So if they're a part-time cop?
Well, the thing is that when they send the National Guard out to a hurricane, people don't lose their shit. Right. And I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying I think we can bring, in that instance, in Houston, we can maybe bring our anxiety about it down a level. I'm not saying there's no threat there. I'm just saying let's bring that down a level because even the way and the governor controls the National Guard too as well, right? Doesn't the governor is when that has the purview over what the National Guard does in their state?
Unless they release them, but that's more
right.
nuanced.
But they haven't. Right.
Yeah.
They haven't been released to the federal government to use. Right. That's each governor is calling them in or not. Correct? Because they're not everywhere.
Well, I think California and New York are nationally organized right now. That was during the Donald Trump's COVID-19 press release conference that he did a few weeks ago. A week?
Okay.
Wow. Actually, yeah, I think it's only been a week, which is just.
I know. It seems like so much has happened that it's like a lot longer for me anyways.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. So it was Dallas, actually. Harris County is under a lockdown, which is like the city of Houston, but it's very loose. No one here gives a shit. I think everybody's convinced that they're either going to go broke or get sick, and they're not going to go broke. So,
yeah.
And
yeah,
I kind of want to challenge that though, because I get what you're saying. Like, it's not the same as like
you would.
M1
it wouldn't
Abrams.
Be a show with you if you didn't challenge it.
M1 Abrams are not like driving down the street. You know, they're not like pulling you out of your home. Hands up, we're gonna search for COVID-19. You know, or whatever.
Right.
But it's no better than if like police were coming around doing wellness checks, and that doesn't make me feel any better either. So
well, you've been through the training of the military.
Yeah.
You know what the training for military is much more they're much more reserved than the police are in many ways. That like the what do they call it, the engagement rules
use
of engagement
force, or
they're much more regulated and looked at than. I'm not saying bad stuff doesn't happen with the military, of course I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the police, I'm much more scared of the police on a day-to-day basis and how they are trained as opposed to how the National Guard may be trained. And they do a lot of humanitarian stuff. I'm just saying it's not that unusual. I don't think we can take this one thing, is what I'm saying, and say that is they're getting ready to do martial law. I think it's different from place to place.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm not so much saying that it's like martial law, but
right. But that's what that's when I first heard it, I went, oh my God, wow. And then I heard the idea, or what Jack had said about it. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense to me, that they call them in when they do hurricanes. They call them in when they do lots of things. This may be just governors trying to help. Like we wouldn't think their solutions are solutions. I'm just saying that we don't need to read into it what they're not saying. They are usually giving us pretty good clues. Like I would be more concerned about was it Connecticut, you said? Or no, New Jersey?
Yeah.
Whichever state it was, that the lady is like, we're going to come find you. Yeah, that is a different issue. And that's much more scary. And so I think it comes down for each of us. We need to think about these things when we're not under pressure, when we're not afraid. What are our lines? What are our lines in the sand? My line in the sand is not if they come to Knoxville. My line in the sand is if they come to my door or in my neighborhood, maybe. Like, where is your line? You've got to figure out, because I can't fight the National Guard in Knoxville. They're going to do what they're going to do. But if they come to my door, that's a different thing. Like, then even then, like, you have to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to handle it. The idea that I usually have is, if I'm not being threatened to be murdered or my kids to be murdered, is that I should try and minimize the interaction and get through it. That's me. Like, I just want to minimize, get through it, and then you fight it after when they're not got the guns right there at your head, a tank outside your house. Like, that's a hard fight to win, right?
Not impossible, but yes.
Not impossible, but I mean, I don't have an arsenal at my house. I have some, but not an arsenal. So I'm not fighting an Abrams tank, and
You're getting red flagged
what they
now.
could bring to bear.
You just said you had a gun on the internet. Dang it, Sherry.
But I lost it in a boating accident.
Yes, me too. All of them.
But I think that's the thing, is that's what makes this difficult, right? It's not that there is one boogeyman at our door. Like, this is how the state operates. They say, those people in the Middle East, they're scary and they hate our freedoms. Those Russians, they're scary and they hate our freedom. We got to go. They want to fiddle in our elections. Never mind, we fiddled in everyone's elections. They want to fiddle in ours, and that's sacred. And so they build up these, paper tigers so that they can knock them down and say, look how we're making the world safe. We may have funded ISIS. We may have funded every terrorist group for the last, 100 years, but look at us go. We're taking them down. And so a lot of people are swept up in those narratives, but we don't have one. They're a many tentacled beast. Like, we're looking at probably the largest government the world has ever seen. Definitely the largest military. And if you look at power, and so they're coming at us in so many different ways that it's hard to fight the one boogeyman. So we're all off on, some people are fighting in the public school sector and some people are fighting this. And so it's hard to know when the appropriate times, because I'm not going to say that violence is never the answer. I'm going to say that's the last thing I would ever want it to come to in a million years, because I think it would work out really badly for all of us. But sometimes that is the answer. And so that's something that each person has to, I guess it's probably not the answer he was wanting. I don't know, but that's the only answer I have to give him, is that I would say avoid violence if at all possible in almost every situation. But if you got to bring it.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's a boog boy, maybe not. Maybe he's just frustrated. Yeah. It definitely sounded frustrated in his email. But I mean, I get it. That's what I was going to say. Is it like, if we don't go find some deserted island and start Ancapistan there, like, we got to figure something out, because I'm not going to live a slave for the rest of my life. And that's not me saying that I'm going to hurt anybody, but that's me saying that I'm going to go by myself to a deserted island and start Ancapistan if no one comes with me, because
it's all about making, capitulations, I guess, or compromises on, like my friend Michael Bolden, that many of you guys know from the 10th Amendment Center. He lives in LA, and most people, like, he's about living in California, California and all that. And he's like, look, it's about trade-offs. There's more of the kind of lifestyle things I like here than there is, say, in the South where I live. And the trade-offs, it's about value judgments, things like that. You weigh it out.
Is his, like, do his passions involve redwood trees and vineyards? Because that's, like, all I can think of that California has.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well then I guess so, yeah.
The food in LA, like, there is such a huge diversity of, like, amazing food in LA. And I think he lives by his stomach, so.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it's, or to move somewhere else outside the country. But really, we're looking at a global surveillance state. Like, all the governments, or the U.S. bullies people into doing things, and people want to be, on the side of the U.S. and have these same, privileges and powers that they grant themselves. So there's not a lot of places we're going to be able to go anyways to really get away from it. All we can do is make ourselves so irrelevant to them that they don't care. But I mean, we've seen it even with, like, the seasteaders outside in the ocean off Thailand, and I still think the U.S. government was behind that, because I don't think Thailand would have given two shits about somebody living in some concrete out in the ocean. But whatever. They still came after them, and they're just one people. They can't control you and live off of you if you're not part of their system.
Exactly. Which is what I mean. As much as I hate to say it, like, I always I have these people who come up, and I don't know if it's just because I do the show or whatever, but every once in a while I get someone who just messages me, and they're like, "I figured it out. Okay, all we need is a bathtub, a bunch of super glue, some glitter, and about 300 years." And I was like, "That's not an acceptable solution, right there." Okay. The 300 years part, like, forget whatever you had before that. Like, if you're
Yeah.
asking me to wait 3 centuries to not, like, worry about my rights being threatened, you don't have a good enough solution for me.
Yeah. And that is true. I know a lot of times, something you and I have talked about before, people are frustrated. And so they want to do something, and they think voting is doing something, and it feels like doing something, and that's why the system likes it. You get involved in the system and do something. And many people, that's all they do. They go and they I'm gonna pull this lever, pull the fuck out of it, and push the button, whatever it is. And
Someone hasn't been in a voting booth for a minute. It's like Vegas over here. I'm voting on bells,
I mean, I remember the paper ballot, the punch thing. Oh, y'all. But yeah, I haven't voted. But anyways, where they feel like that alleviates some of their frustration. Say, well, we don't like the results, but it's the system we have. So that's one way that the state kind of helps keep people from actually doing things that work, which are things that we're doing. We're talking to people and proselytizing, really, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, that's a much more difficult thing to see, and it's much more frustrating. And I like to use the analogy of, we're going to like this. Okay, so those desktop toys, the one with the balls that
The Newton's cradle?
Yeah, that thing. And so I like to call it the thing with the balls. But so you can pick one up. If you see one of those, you know what's happening, right? The energy is going through the balls, kicking up the other side. But if you were to cover that and pick up the one ball and you see it hitting the first one, you don't see anything happening, right? Like many things in this world cloud the impact that we have. But we have impact. Each thing has an impact. Every time you talk to someone and bring them a little bit closer, that has impact. It has real world consequences, and we're seeing it. We're seeing the fruits of those that came before us. Like Larkin had said again, there are many, many more. And since I've been an anarchist for the last 5 or 6 years, I personally have brought people into the anarchist frame of mind, or I hate to call it a frame of mind. It's more of a yeah. So you can bring people there. Not everybody is ever going to come that way, but if you can get enough people in a culture to agree that, like, just to the principle of non-aggression, if we could just get enough people to accept the non-aggression principle, just imagine how much better. Shaking your head.
We can't even get libertarians to agree to the non-aggression principle. We can't even get ANCAPs.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. But I still think those are such nuanced arguments. They're so those are the fringes of the fringes of the fringe. So I think for the mainstream, like, if you're not even trying to convince them to be an anarchist, because I think a lot of people, it's a certain kind of person that becomes an anarchist, or a person who can accept certain
an autist
aspects an autist, yes. Someone who can accept that freedom and safety are not synonyms. You have to be able to do that, and not everybody can do that. But if you can get them to agree, look, you don't hurt me and I don't hurt you, and if you can get them to agree that if my kids aren't in the public school system, I shouldn't have to pay for it. If you're going to get them to agree that you get to have everything you want, but you have to have it over there, but I get to have everything I want over here, I think that's a huge jump in culture, and it starts to turn the tide. And so that's a frustrating avenue to take. I know, I take it all the time. Like, that's what I do. I want to make cultural change. And we'll see the effects of that ship churning, just like we were talking about with gay marriage. That's something that, now we're starting to hear people understand that government shouldn't be involved in anyone's marriage. It has nothing to do with the government. So that whole mindset is starting to turn in that way. And what we've done or what people have done in one area can be done in another. It does take time. Time is a factor, but we also have exponential growth. And if you just look at like technology, how it grows, my when I was born, let's take me for an example. Old ass me. There was no, like, I used to watch Inspector Gadget, y'all, and I loved Penny's like book, which you could open it up and have all the things, and it was like a computer. I never in 7,000 years when I was a kid would have imagined I could have this little thing right here is that and more. I have all the knowledge of the world in my hands. This did not exist when I was born. So, and that's exponential growth. We will see that with freedom culture or the liberty movement. So I don't know what the end result of it's going to be, but the more people we have on our team, if so to speak, especially if the shit does hit the fan, the better, because we know who we can rely on and who believes in the same things we do, and hope that they stay true to that.
Yeah.
I see a challenge coming on.
No, I think I'm kind of thinking. I'm at a place now where I've reached this point in my evolution of my personal philosophy where I went from what I felt like was basically like statist, but so statist I didn't even know I was statist, to where I am now, which is
way.
I think much better. And like, we could talk about voting. I think I still have some reservations on like calling it violence, but I did want to say that I have changed my position that like voting matters or counts. I think that if you say like I voted, I did my part, like you're
Right.
you're a joke.
You're what Alan
I
would call
see
a
that
dick
now.
shitter.
I see that now. I haven't quite been convinced that voting is inherently violence, but I do think you are responsible for at least partially. So I think that,
Mhm.
and I think that everybody feels that they are partially responsible, whether they admit it or not. And that's why we're getting such a reaction from people who voted for Trump, who are like, okay, first the bump stocks, I was like, hold up. But now you're, kind of like being a socialist. But I did want to ask you one more question before, and we can just run the clock out or whatever you want after this. But Sherry Voluntary, what are you doing with your $1,200?
My Trump bucks?
Yeah, what are you doing with your Trump bucks? Are you going to pass the test? I think I've gotten so much about people saying like, "Oh, you better not cash those Trump bucks because then you're a socialist commie." So I wanted to see what Sherry Voluntary thought.
Buy toilet paper. That's
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Stock up, man.
It's an interesting philosophical debate. However, I don't really care. Like, they're gonna send it to you. It's not even a drop in the bucket. It doesn't matter.
If you don't spend it, they will. That's what I say. That money will get recirculated back into the system eventually or lost. Great.
Right. And
that was
they're
super
already
useful.
like, it already means nothing. Like, it's already worth, I mean, it's going to mean like you should probably buy some food with it if you're going to use it, because the next few months might not be so good for life. So get them canned peas while they're hot.
Yeah. I've got my eyes on a couple toys that I was looking at getting before that this coronavirus stuff has motivated me, and $1,200 will get me out the door for it. So
you live with your parents, don't you?
Me? I rent, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
From your parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. That's why you can buy toys.
I still rent. I'm also single and don't have kids, so that helps too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything. I mean, I
Hey.
think I know people give a lot of crap for
Are you
people
trying to
living
fight?
at home.
Do you want to fight? Is that what's happening right now? Are
Can
we
we
about
fight?
to fight? Because I don't want to
No,
fight.
actually,
I'm
I
not a
was
fighter.
gonna.
No, I'm just
You're a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to be your mom, probably too. It's just kind of gross.
Nah, you're fine. You're good. You're good. You went to high school in the 90s? I was born in the 90s. It's basically, it's basically.
I'm old enough to be your mother.
When did
What
you
year
graduate?
were you born?
Oh,
95.
I was born in 96, so.
Oh my God! I'm actually, I could have been your mother.
Could have, yeah.
Oh, God.
In an alternate timeline,
Terrible.
I was a redhead, and I was Christian voluntary over here.
I know. My son would probably trade places with you right now. Stretch, my son, Ronan, he's 17.
He's a good kid.
He is a good kid. He is a really good kid, and we don't have say it's just he's frustrated at being that age. It's a hard age to be. I remember being frustrated at that age. You're trying to figure out your life beyond high school and all that, and you're still living with your parents, which he has pretty much all the freedom he could have with us. But it's just frustrating. You can't do what you want, and you're basically an adult, and it's kind of hard. So anyway,
that's why I rent.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
yeah.
I'd make my kids pay rent, right? I'm definitely one that believes
it was
that. Oh, go ahead.
It was you play under my rules or you cough it up, and I was like, here you go, money.
Right. And I think that keeps things. It creates a nice boundary,
yeah,
which is hard, especially when you're moving from child in the terms of the law to adult, with your parents, because those lines are already pretty established, and you need to kind of break them up. So I think that's good, and I think it's just
being away
you're
for
an
a few
adult. You
years,
should pay your own.
helped.
Yeah. You're an adult.
Yeah, I was.
And I was going to say that
so, I mean,
Yeah, most people we talk and we laugh. They live with their parents still at 30, but that is a little long. But with the way the economy is and stuff right now. Well,
sorry, no, I just can't help it. You're like, oh, it's whatever, 30, and then you're like, okay, well, that's kind of
right.
a little long.
I mean, maybe it's working out for you and your folks, and you and your wife are living at home.
I like to say I'm taking care of my parents. That's how I say.
There you go. Yeah, I know. That's what I love it when a dude messages like, "Hey, girl, want to go out?" And we start talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I take care of my mom." I was like, "Oh,
God,
is he really taking care of his mom, or is it?"
Oh, wait.
No, he lives with his mom.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that kind.
Anyways,
yeah, I'm actually moving to Austin this summer, so that'll be interesting.
Are you? Oh, you're gonna get weird.
I guess so. Yeah.
I hear Austin is a frustrating place for an ANCAP to live.
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna proselytize. I'm gonna get on my soapbox. Yay, ye commies!
Yeah.
Listen,
I have a friend out there, so I should hook you up with them. But
there we go.
Yeah. So I think in the situation that we have today, a lot of people need to live at home longer. It's hard, especially if you've gone the college route and paid tons and tons of money to work for $15 an hour a year. It's probably a good idea. I always tell my kids, you can live here as long as we're all happy with the situation. Of course, you understand this is my home, my property, and then I might ask you to leave at some point. But, do I would like for my son, I hope he decides to do this, but to live at home while he goes to his first couple of years of college. I think he's going to college. To just save money. It's hard enough out there, and it's a big transition. So, and then he can go off wherever he wants to do that anyways. But I don't have a problem with it, especially because I'm pretty good at setting those boundaries. Some people aren't though, and it's probably better for their kids to move on. But
yeah,
it's the situation that you guys build for yourselves, and so there's really nothing wrong with it. Lots of cultures, they live with their parents forever. So,
and then their parents live with them forever.
That's right. Oh, I'm thankful that's not the case. I love my parents, but y'all.
That's what I keep telling mine. They're like, because my great grandmother lives with my mom's aunt and stuff like that, and she's like, "That's gonna be me when when I'm older, right?" And I was like, "No, no." And she's like, "What? You're gonna go live with my little brother, because
Yeah,
he's
right.
the good son. I'm the
Yeah, I know
favorite, but
who's.
he's the good son, you know."
I'm the oldest daughter, and that generally is the person who takes care of the parents. It seems like, and then my sister is a uh paraplegic, and so she's not really able to do it. My brother is a narcoleptic, and he lives with them already still.
There we go.
Um, I hope to keep them in their home as long as possible. Let's
I
just
think
say that.
my great grandmother was in her house until she actually got eminent domained out of it. They
Oh,
were
wow,
expanding the highway,
sucks.
and she had lived there for like 30 something years, and they were like, "We'll give you $20 for your tiny house. Please leave
Right.
or we'll arrest you."
Yeah, it's never even like they rape you and they don't even put any money and say, "Here you go, whore." Like
they
like
don't,
they
they don't
just
even say thanks at the end.
yeah, they
You know,
no
it's
reach around nothing. Like it's terrible.
oh man. Yeah, it's so bad.
Poor Christian.
Eminent domain gets me fired up too, because that's just
I
like
know.
blatant stealing.
Theft, just like civil asset forfeiture. It's just outright theft because we're bigger than you.
Yeah,
That's all.
and I love the statist arguments for it. It's like, well, you never really owned the property to begin with, and I'm like, you're not helping. You're not helping
Right.
anything by
Like,
saying that.
by saying that, you're making my argument that we're all renters like here because they've already just the state has decided it owns everything when it should own nothing. Like if you don't even own your own home because they can come take it if you don't pay taxes even after you've paid it off. So who owns it? They do because they're going to invoke their right to get it back if you don't do what they want with it.
I've stopped calling it the property tax and I call it the existing tax now, because that's
The,
really
the what tax?
the existing tax. It's their money that they get from you, like
For
not
existing?
being dead. Because they'll get your money when you die, but
I was going to say
before
they'd
then-
even tax you for that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not a funeral plot tax like where
no.
I shouldn't even say this and put it out in the ether because
there's
it's
some guy
don't wanna
sitting
do
down.
it.
Our FBI
like,
agents are holding their
NSA
pens.
is like, oh, I'm getting a raise. Where they tax you every year for the plot in the ground.
like your parents
that
are
you
buried
have.
in or something.
Yeah,
Like,
so you
thanks.
have a in-ground tax. There's all the above ground taxes and you have it in.
Oh man.
And if you believe in like if you're like a Buddhist or something and believe in reincarnation or Hindu, not whatever, then you get taxed like a whole like more than most people. So
Wow. Yeah.
you're gonna get taxed for lifetimes. That's if you come back as a person.
And then if you tell them that this was me, I bet you they'd do it. I bet you they would find a way, some loophole in the law.
Like, whoa, you like people come back and they say, I was son of Prince of Egypt, and oh shit, you were bobbed down the street. You owed some bad taxes when you died, son.
Oh,
You didn't ever get it from your crappy estate. We get to take it now. Yeah, you're right. They would.
They would find a way. It's so gross.
Yeah.
I have but like I was kind of alluding to earlier, I think I've reached this point now to where I'm looking for, I think almost like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like I have reached doomer stage. I think I was memeing as a doomer for a while, but I think
yeah.
I've reached doomer where I'm like, we've got to figure something out, because one of us is gonna lose, and there's like an entire army of them and one of me. So
can we just have a come to Jesus meeting really just for a second here? Because I feel sad about it, because I've been at where you're at. There are times where I've just been so frustrated. I'm like, I just want to leave.
I just want to
leave everyone and just go on an island somewhere and find some cabana boys or something and like whatever. Like I've thought, like I'm tired of it all. I don't even care anymore. I don't want to talk to anybody about it. I'm just done.
Yeah.
And so I've been at that point, and I mean, you're more than welcome to stay there, of course, but you won't be happy. That's the thing. And that's what, I think we all have to remember sometimes, that there's more to life than the struggle. And we have to remind ourselves that there are a lot of things to be thankful for, and that there are things to enjoy. We have family, we have friends, we have toys. We can go, and when we're not in quarantine, we can go and do things, like we have to, it's about where you put your focus, I guess is what I'm saying. And so sometimes I have to like pull myself back and go, okay, let's put this in perspective. Yes, is there tyranny here? Yes, absolutely. But my daughter isn't going to be, have female circumcision enacted on her. And,
Hopefully.
this, like there are places in the world that it's much,
Okay.
much worse.
All right.
And so you have to have perspective, though.
No, I'm just
You're
saying.
welcome.
I'm just saying. Like, this is a very, like, hey, you could have been born a starving Ethiopian child.
Yeah, but
it's like...
and I know fuck the Ethiopians, right? No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Not for real Ethiopians. I love you, but they got some good food, y'all.
Shout out to all the Ethiopians watching this right now.
It's a matter of us taking care of our mental health, and we have to, if we're in it for the long run, like we have to do that. We have to learn strategies that help us stay in it for the long run and be healthy, because it's burnout. What you're experiencing is burnout, and I've done it many times, and it's always because I focused so much on the things that I was fighting that I forgot to focus on the things I was fighting for. My kids are still a delight in my life, and that's not going to change because of my tax rate. Like I there are things that are good regardless.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really, really important, is that we have to make ourselves okay so that we can stay in the fight. And really, it's going to take time, like I know your friend said the glitter bathtub thing. That's wild,
yeah.
but hopefully it won't take as long as, but I've given up trying to, like, what would it even mean to see the world that I want? Like, I don't even know. I mean, I know what I would not want, but that's going to look a lot different, and it's going to be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So, I think we have to focus on what we want to build. It was Socrates that said, in order to have real change, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact words, but you have to focus not on what you don't want or what the system is. You have to focus on what you want. You have to build what you want, build the new. And I think that's what we kind of have to do, like with our voluntarist communities. We have to get with other people in our local areas if possible, and start building that community and that sense of, this is somebody who gets me, because that's really important for humans, to have that sense of somebody who gets me. I see you over there. I see your gear, your little hamsters in there. Like, I don't know about this, bitch. You
I'm not, I'm not trying to be pessimistic nihilist.
No,
Christian.
I know.
I just, I do. I've gotten. I feel like I've gotten a lot better than when I started doing all of this, about like not constantly being like, we gotta go dismantle the state right now. Like, we're all running around like, you got your screwdriver? Okay, I've got the wrench. We're gonna go take it apart right now. And like, we're all gonna run off. Why is no one coming with me? Why is it just me? I think I've gotten a lot better about that. Putting the, I'm able to put the heat on when I need to, and kind of just live my life and enjoy the freedoms I do have, as limited as they may be. But but I feel like, to kind of counterpoint, we are at a very particular time to where I can't go out and have a drink with my friends. I can't go meet everybody at, I don't know, Wings place down the street that I can't remember the name of. Applebee's and get some sick Applebee's on.
That's right.
Yeah, like basketball isn't even on. I don't watch basketball, but somebody's release in this world is basketball, and they don't even get that now. And it's just like, so the only things that we have going for us is like you can sit inside and like play video games and watch TV and movies all day, or you can like play video games.
Pornhub. Yeah.
Only so much. I gotta keep the gyms are closed, so I gotta keep my arms balanced.
Is it like bandaged up right now? Like
yeah, I'm in a cast because I
my wrist is broken.
Notice I haven't showed you my right hand. So,
Ew. No, I get it, and right, but I think too, like, I don't want to pull the older than card, but I'm gonna do it. I'm older than you.
On the bright side of life.
We'll weather the storm, right? We'll weather it. This thing is gonna end. This thing called the state is gonna end at some point. It is going to collapse under its own weight.
Hopefully.
I don't know if it will be in my lifetime or not, but it's going to come. Like all things end. The Roman Empire, I'm sure there's points in the Roman Empire like this will last forever. Everything ends.
The ship that'll never sink.
But right, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't affect your life right now. I get that. I'm just saying that, it's like leave me another Bible thing here. There's a Old Testament, like I think it's in Proverbs with knowledge.
You got the whole thing memorized. I'm convinced.
I know. You would not believe the person, man. But with knowledge comes sorrow, right? Like more knowledge brings more sorrow because your eyes have been opened to the world. And while that's a great and wonderful and very exciting thing, think of it like a romance. A girl.
Oh.
You meet this girl and she's like badow and bam and all that stuff.
I don't think I've ever met a badow. That's definitely what I'm looking for though.
Right. Well, this dream girl of yours. At first, it's really exciting, right? Like any relationship, you've had girlfriends, I'm sure, or boyfriends. I'm not. What? I shouldn't.
Are you assuming my preferences?
I know. I was assuming your preferences. I'm sorry. You've had friends.
I only date attack helicopters. Sorry, I can't. All right, keep going.
But at first, it's really exciting, or learning a new video. Whatever, like at first there's all this excitement.
I get the girlfriend analogy. You don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was getting really weird even for me. So
I was just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, but and that's how a lot of us are when we first, stumble on this ideology. It's really exciting and it might last for several years, but at a certain point it starts to drop down. You go, all this excitement and energy I had, this, zeal for it. It's kind of. I'm not feeling it right now. And that's a normal cycle. We have to all recognize that it's not always going to be, woo, we're going to save the world. But, you're coming to a more mature position all the time. Like even myself, I there are things like I was just telling you, I'm more like getting into the idea of building the new. Like, what do I want to, I can yell about cops all the time and I will. But what am I doing that's actively getting us towards that goal as well? Because hopefully I'm changing some minds over there and pissing some people off who need to be pissed off. But what else am I doing to build that community and build something that people want to be a part of? And I used to be, when I was in this religious group I was in, I was on what most people might call a mission. I went for 6 months and lived somewhere and to establish a fellowship in that area in Colorado. And, the time that we spent witnessing, going door to door and talking to people, I was one of those people that was showing up, when you're trying to stir your macaroni and I'm at the door. Have you heard about our friend Jesus? But, what were we talking about? Head injury central. Yeah. Oh, that we did all this. We worked all the time. Like that was we took part-time jobs and we lived in houses together so that we could do this most of our time. But all the people that we ever got to come to our fellowship came on the times we were hanging out on our day off.
Mm.
And that's it. We have to build those communities, not only because you can't do it just because it's something that makes you happy. Do it because it attracts other people. When I left that group, the hardest thing for me to leave was the community that I felt there. I still miss that. I still miss having people that I can count on in any situation that I know will help me, that I can call. And I could probably still call those people, honestly. But that's what we need to build for ourselves. Let's build community. That is a strong thing that so many people are missing in life. So many people don't have strong communities anymore. Strong, whether it's church communities or other types of, they go to the lodge or whatever. There's all kind of things that have sort of broken down. We get to build that, and in that community we can build it how we want it. We can get with people who get us, and that's a really important need. I think we underestimate it a lot as to how much community matters. Because we're social animals and we can't get away from that. That is a tyranny of life. That's just the case. No man is an island. If you are, you're probably a psychopath as well. So, there's some people who really like to be alone. That's fine, but Ted Kaczynski was a guy who really liked to be alone, and he was nuts. So we just have to recognize that we need each other, and that'll bring a lot of enjoyment to our lives.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, I think that's a great way to wrap up today's episode of Bible Verses with Sherry. Next week we will
Christian voluntary.
We will start on some Old Testament stuff next week. Make sure you check up on your Leviticus. It's going to come up at least once, so there will be a test at the end.
Sharpen your knives, we're going in.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think I really do. I really do appreciate that sentiment right there. I agree that, I've talked a lot about community, and I still, every time I talk about it, I have to say I still am not doing everything I could. And I still think that we could probably all be doing something better than we are.
But we're not obligated, though. That's
yeah,
the cool
that's
thing.
the thing. Yeah, is that I say that, and it's like I should be doing these things.
Right.
I don't have
Right,
to, but
if you're not feeling it, do something different, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's the component you're missing.
Yeah,
they got some great voluntarists down there in Dallas.
Yeah, I know. I need to go see those guys sometimes. I wanted to go so bad to Feed the Need. I really wanted to. It just did not. I had about
And
this.
I was down there last summer. You could have come visited, but you didn't.
I was in country last summer.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. You're off
I was
the
in
hook.
Korea. I had about this many dollars in my bank account for
I'm
the last couple months, so it's been fun. But I appreciate you coming on, Sherry. I think we had a good talk.
Thanks for having me. Always.
Yeah, talking about the the ebb and flow as things. I think the conversations had a good ebb and flow to them as well. We covered a lot of different things, but it was all good as always. I expected nothing less. So
guess that's subjective whether it was good or not.
Yeah.
Thank you. I always love coming on your show. I think I've enjoyed talking to you because even when we first started talking to each other, like on your first show that I was just in the comments on, and I was like making you crazy.
Oh yeah, you were in the Facebook chat, and I was like,
and then we did like afterwards. You had me come on the live stream that night on there. Even though we've disagreed, it's always been friendly and lighthearted, and I love that. I really like that about you. I think you're very open to hearing what people have to say and not getting, come at me, bro.
You're not going to hurt my feelings unless you start being like an actual dick, and then we might have problems. But other than that, like, I mean, if you can disagree with me all day long, think I'm wrong and crazy, but
your skin is pasty.
I mean, that's not going to bother me either. It's like when people start I'll just go ahead and tell you all so you can all trigger me for the rest of my life. But when people are just, you know, like I disagree with them, and they're like, "Well, the only reason that you're disagreeing with me is because you're stupid." And I'm like,
Right.
"Well, I guess I'm
Idiot.
too dumb to have this conversation with you. Then guess I'll just
Right.
go fuck myself." You know, I mean, what am I doing
It's
here?
like, yeah,
Wasting
when
my
people call
time.
like Paul Krugman an idiot. I mean, of course we don't agree with him. He's the
He's
Keynesian. We
not.
think that's,
Yeah, he's not
but
dumb.
he's not an idiot. You know, like there are people that can be dead wrong or that you can totally disagree with. That doesn't make them stupid. Like I always try to think, okay, I can see the logic that they're using, even though they're wrong, but their logic is intact. They're just wrong.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can deal with that.
Or that's basically every time you hear me, and I say this all the time, it's like if I was in this position, I could see how someone would think this. That's how you know they're not an idiot. Now, if someone comes up to
Right.
me and
Yeah.
they, you know, again, they're like, put a boot on their head and they start spinning around and yelling, I might be like, listen, you know, we got to talk for a second.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I always say. Like, you know, there are people that try to police you on how you address something with someone. And I try not to do that. I mean, I might think you're being ineffective, but I don't know. I'm not going to police you on it. But there are some things that are opinions that are shameful and deserve to be shamed. And when you're talking about violence
Yeah.
against people, you deserve to be shamed. So, you know, there are different tactics and some are nice and some are not. But you can get the cookie bar or candy bar, or you can get the stick. Both could be fun.
Can't,
That's all
I
I'm
was,
saying.
yeah, I mean, a little bit of heat, you know, I mean, hey, who knows? All right. I think, all right, I think we're going to wrap this up now. That was good. That was a good way. Make sure you guys go onto all the social medias, find Sherry Voluntary. You still have your Facebook page, right?
Yeah, I have all the pages. I just don't do the more.
Okay. So you can still find her over at the Sherry Voluntary Show, all those places. You still have your YouTube and
But
all those.
yeah, my YouTube is still up and I would love the subs. Like if I get to 1,000 subs, I can still monetize that channel. And this show I'll put on there if you permission, I'll
Yeah.
put it on there and you know, I try to put all the interviews and things, talks that I do. I can't do all of them, but I try to put them up there still. So there is new content occasionally. But yeah, I would love the subs. Please.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you guys go over, check her out. Do you have a Patreon by any chance or anything like that? Or
I do. It's patreon.com/Sherry Voluntary.
there you
I mean,
go.
that's the thing. I'm easy to find because there's only one me.
Yeah, only one Sherry Voluntary. So
True.
definitely makes it a lot easier that way. And you know,
Right.
so make sure you follow her on all the social medias. Keep up. Eventually, you know, she's got postcards of Somalia still, but some other stuff's coming out soon, so you guys won't want to miss that. And we eventually will have her back on the show again. It's bound to happen. So if you guys like having more Sherry Voluntary, make sure you keep a close eye on what she's doing.
You know you want it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be it from me. Thanks for everybody for coming out. If you haven't yet, make sure you check out the Facebook page or the YouTube channel. Those are two primary places, but we also have Mixer, Twitch, all the other places. The podcast gets released to like 70 billion different platforms. I'm not going to list them all. We have a Patreon. The goal is to reach
Yes.
dead even. So if you want to give $1 a month, you actually get us a pretty good amount of the way there. So go ahead, throw us $1, $5, $100. I'm not going to say no. So
Yeah,
you
no.
know.
Oh, you're not, are you?
Nope,
Well.
I'm not going to say no.
Oh.
But I'm just kidding. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Maybe tell one of your friends if you really liked it, or show it to somebody who you think would find it interesting. And make sure you all have a fantastic rest of your quarantine. Bye.